This is the Hope Not Nope podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by nope.
I'm Dr. Dillon Caswell.
And I'm Brandi.
And we're here to bring you out of the nope and into hope.
Welcome back to the next episode of the Hope Not Nope podcast. We're so excited that you're here and thrilled to be with you. I am so pumped because Dillon has a hope story to share for you all.
Oh, I'm excited to share it. And it's a shorter one than usual. But one of my clients that, I've been working with him for 2 or 3 years now. But he has worked really hard. In his sport, he loves golfing. And he was named in his respective club the men's player of the year. So that was like a huge, I saw him in the morning. He went and played one more time for that respected year. And they named it then and there. Wow. So he got the award. He took a picture. And this is my favorite part. He has 3 kids, two sons that are phenomenal college athletes. And I said, I hope you sent that to them. And just said, Pops has still got it. You guys may think that you're the athletes. Well, look what I just accomplished. And he laughed and he goes, I've sent this to everybody that I know. Like, he was so proud of what he accomplished. Yeah. And it's incredible because he has put the work in, like not just with performance and fitness and health, but on the golf course as well. So it was cool to see all of his hard work pay off and how excited he was that he accomplished this thing.
Mm-hmm. Tell them about how the next session you had after them when you were deadlifting, because I think that our listeners would laugh hysterically.
So he comes in for the session. And the first thing I said, I paused the warm-up and I said, I need to shake hands with the men's player of the year for the respective club. And he laughed and smiled and was like, yep. He goes, well, I owe it to you and your dedication and hard work with me. And so we were kind of clowning around the whole time. And him and his buddies, they trash talk each other, kind of just men competitively. That's just how they work. They trash talk each other, makes them play better. They have fun with it. Mm-hmm. So him and his buddies, they trash talk each other all the time. And so he, getting the player of the year, was telling me that he's going to get a polo and get player of the year stitched on the sleeve, and that the club has a trophy and he's going to be in the trophy case with it. And we're going to go for 2 peats, 3 peats, 4 peats, and all that. And he goes, wait, let's take a picture of me deadlifting. And I want to send it to my buddies and say, you want to be the player of the year, but you don't want to put the work in to actually become it. So I'm like, all right. And it was hilarious because earlier that session, he said, can we do a little bit of a lighter day? Like, I got some things going on and I don't want my legs to be sore. So can we just go lighter? I'm like, yeah, fine. So we went with a higher rep scheme, lower load. And he's like, okay, cool. And then we go to take the picture and he's like, can we put the big plates on? Like, can we put on 185? I'm like, oh, so for the picture, we can put on the big weights, but for the session, we have to stay light. But anyway, he lifts it up. We take the picture. He sent it out to his buddies and said that everyone wants to be the player of the year, but no one wants to put the work in to do it. And within like 30 seconds, his buddies were dinging his phone the rest of the session. He was just laughing hysterically at what they were saying.
I love that. Oh my gosh. It's so good though. Like, I feel like people need to receive that joy. And he's put in a lot of work. And to get recognized, like, it's not this like moment of like ego or pride in a negative sense. It's like true honor of like, yeah, I really have worked hard. Like, thank you, you know?
Yeah, and it builds momentum.
Yeah.
Because now, wow, that 2 years of work that I put in, it paid off. Mm-hmm. It came to fruition with this accomplishment. So now he's fired up. What's next? What's next? What's next? So it's awesome. It's so cool to see.
I love that. Oh, so good. This past week, I had the opportunity to work out and do a CrossFit competition. And for me, my hope story wasn't necessarily like there were a lot of really cool moments throughout it, but in preparation for this competition, it was a partner competition. So I got to work out with one of my local friends and we tested the workouts multiple times. And every time there was a complex of 3 deadlifts, a hang clean, and 2 front squats. And every time my partner was like, I can't get over 115. Like, I've never been able to hang clean over 115. It's like, there's just this mental block in my head. Like, I just can't do it. And so we were practicing and testing it, and we both had cleaned 115, so I was like, okay, that's the goal. Like if we can both get that, great. Like we'll be happy. We knew that that event wasn't going to be our strongest event of the weekend, and so we are like, all right, let's do the best that we can. And during the competition, disclaimer, I'm not the best at counting. Like I look at the bar and then I say what's on the bar. It's really hard for me to do the fast math of like, oh, there's this plate, that equals 105. There's this plate equals 115, whatever. So I knew what I was starting with, and then I was like, let's just add fives or two and a halves or tens or 15s as needed, and had no idea what the weight was at. I was just like, let's go for it. And my partner ended up cleaning 120, and I had no idea at the time because I'm not good at the math, but it was so cool because afterwards when the event was done and we looked at the sheet, and I was like, oh my goodness, you just cleaned one, like you did the complex at 120, which is huge.
Yeah.
And just seeing how proud she was of, like, there was this mental block, but in a competition you don't have the mental block anymore. She was able to push herself to that next level, which was so inspiring. And the really cool thing, and I don't know if this was intentional by the gym, but the way that they had it set up is when the athletes leave from their area to exit like the performance area, you had to walk by the bell. And so she got to like ring the bell to say that she PR'd,
Oh.
which was just so awesome because, if the bell was somewhere else, I don't know if she would have walked over to it to ring the bell, but it was right there, and so she did it. And I don't know. So for me, like, that was the highlight of the entire competition was, you go into the workout, you have these mental blocks, and like, okay, every time I tested this, I got to this amount, so it would be miraculous if I'm able to get more than that. And she got more than that. And so it's so cool whenever that happens.
Yeah, three quick things from that story. One, I saw a post the other day, and it was gym bro math. Like people talk about girl math, and then like gym bro math. And it was this teacher, and they said, "What's 45 plus 45?" And the gym bro raises his hand, goes up to the board. It's 45 plus 45 equals 135 because that's how I count. Like the 45-pound plates on the bar is 135, and it's just pattern recognition over time. Because I also struggle at counting weights to the point when you're in the open, I was 1% away from the top 10%. And the first workout that I did, I used the wrong weight, but it was such a killer workout. I didn't want to redo it. I was 10 pounds over what I should have been doing because I just counted incorrectly. So there's one point. Second point was speaking on momentum of our client that got Men's Player of the Year. One of our first podcasts was you doing a CrossFit competition and the adversity that you faced. And we talk on momentum. You mentioned that you competed in this competition with a partner, but the other part was that you were actually competing in another competition at the same time.
Yeah.
For 4-week competition and prepping for this other competition. So you talk about momentum. And it's, wow, I accomplished this one thing. What's the next thing? Let's roll that into this. And now you've done these 2 competitions, and that builds momentum for the next thing. And now you have more evidence of the things that need to be worked on, which then allows you to become better athletes. So the more that you put into it, the more that you keep getting out of it. And it's such a fun experience. And then third point is, in that first podcast, you guys heard of Brandi's story of what she faced to get back to even thinking about signing up for a CrossFit competition, which was incredibly amazing. And Brandi's partner in this competition that she was in also has a story that is just full of adversity and obstacles and being told nope. And she just continued to persevere. I won't give the details because that's her story to share. And it's such a beautiful story of how much that she has fought to also be able to compete in a competition. So you two being together on a team, I was trying to yell the whole competition so that I wouldn't cry during every event, because I know what both of you have been through. And it was so special watching you compete. Like me and your partner's, her dad, we're sitting there watching it, and their team name was the Comeback Kids. And we're just like, man, nobody knows what these 2 girls have been through, that they're now out here like crushing these workouts and having fun and working as a team, and the work that they put up leading up to the competition, but the work that they've really put in their entire lives and all the things that they faced to show us hope. So it was so beautiful watching that. And especially, like, what better 2 people than you and our local friend here are the most humble athletes in the world. Wow, great lift. Oh yeah, I think I PR'd it.
Thank you for saying that. It was such a fun competition. I genuinely just had such a great time, and I felt so supported too because you were there, and having a partner is so unique. Because my first in-person competition I ever did, or any virtual online ones, that's always just me versus me, and having a partner is just it's so helpful. It's
Yeah.
so encouraging. There was one workout where I was like, someone yelled in the background like 20 seconds left or 15 seconds left, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. And instead of being like, oh, there's 15 seconds left, let's push through, I was like, all right, there's 15 seconds left and I don't want to disappoint my partner, so let's do this. Like, I got this. And it's really cool because leading up to the competition, she was crushing double unders, and I was not at all. I'm still struggling. Send help. But at the competition itself, they just weren't stringing together for her. And so I was able to almost like miraculously do better than I anticipated with like the double unders. And there were just other ways that we were able to, there's a balance that happens, but then there's also like a motivation of my partner's here and I'm going to do my best like for my partner and call them to the next level. And that was really the desire for the both of us in this competition, was to truly just go into it and push ourselves to the next level. And this competition, like, you were able to sign up as novice or intermediate, and we were like, we could do the novice, but then we're like doing weights at 15-pound dumbbells, which is like, we felt like it would be insulting.
Yeah.
And so the only other option was then to move up and do the 35-pound dumbbells, which is really hard and heavy, but we wanted to challenge ourselves. And so it was such a gift to be able to go into that weekend, do the competition and really challenge ourselves, but then to see moments of like me stringing together the double unders, basically doing chest to bars when I really only needed to do pull-ups, but I was like so hyped up that I was able to do them. And then like her hitting the PR, and just like pushing each other so that we could do the best that we could. It was really a great event, and ran so well. Like, the gym that we were at, it was the most smooth event I'd ever seen. It was awesome.
Yeah, everything was on time. Athletes knew where to go. They knew the judges. They knew the standards. It was very, very, very well done. And I want to point out there the importance of a team, not just in a CrossFit competition, but in life, that in a team, you recognize that I have strengths and I have weaknesses. And I don't care who you are, you have a weakness, you have a limiting factor. Now, sometimes it's, I'm going to double down and work on my weaknesses. Other times it's good to have a team and say, you know what? That's not my strength. I want to be on a team with you because you have a strength that I don't have. And I want you to take lead with that, but it doesn't mean that I want to be completely hands off. Like, I want to learn from you. And that's the beauty of, one, our marriage, but then two, our business, is that you have strengths in areas that I don't have. And then vice versa. You have strength, or I have strengths in areas that you don't have. And it's good to be able to have that, because I used to have this mentality of like, I can do it all, I just need to work harder.
Yeah.
And it's so not true. Like, you might be able to do that, but hey, there's people out there that are better than you in some aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like, team up with those great people. And we learned at a conference of talent density, of like so many organizations, they hire volume, when in reality, like, no, you should be trying to hire the best of the best in that position, decrease the amount of people that you have on your team, and then really work on each other's strengths and know what people's strengths and weaknesses are. And you and your partner, you communicated so beautifully during that competition. Hey, these double unders aren't working for me. Can you take some? Yeah. Hey, this feeling pretty heavy. Can you take some? Yeah, I can do that. And that's what it takes to be a successful team. It's communication, knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses, but then also adapting on the fly, because you have that trust and safety in each other.
Oh, we could talk about it forever.
Yep.
But thank you.
Yeah.
It's encouraging, and we love CrossFit and we love the opportunity to. It's so special to be able to compete. Still, in my later 20s, and I don't know, it's just cool.
Yeah.
Let's dive into our questions. Our first question is from a listener named Jocelyn, and she asks, what is your go-to supplement or practice during the winter months?
Jocelyn, great question. My go-to supplement's creatine.
Mm,
Creatine monohydrate. Like, don't bother with the other creatines. Creatine monohydrate is really what you want. The reason I go to that is because there's so much research on it. It's one of the supplements out there that actually has a lot of science that backs the benefit of it. When it originally came out, people thought it might be dangerous for kids, for example. And the research showed no, it's really not. It's just don't be taking a ton of it
mm,
over and over again. But if you take the recommended amount, then it's really beneficial. It's really beneficial for athletic performance. There's research showing that is beneficial for brain performance, cognitive abilities, and it's really showing that if you take it in the right dosage, then there's not harm to it. The other thing is that it's pretty inexpensive and is really easy to sneak in throughout the day. You know,
mm.
you're having some water, dump some in there. Some protocols want you to do a loading phase. Other protocols say don't worry about the loading phase, just make sure you're getting some of this in per day. But it's super beneficial. The research has backed it, so that's a supplement that I really use in my daily routine.
Mhm.
Now, I think the question was
Winter
in the winter
months.
months,
Yeah.
still using creatine. Winter, summer, fall, spring, all seasons, creatine.
Mm,
Like creatine is great. You can get it through your meals, which is good, but because we're doing a lot of high intensity types of movements, I do like to supplement it. And the research is there, creatine monohydrate. In the winter months, it really doesn't change too much for me. I have been thinking like, okay, maybe I should supplement with some more vitamin D
mm.
because we are in the Northeast and it's kind of gets dark at like what 4 o'clock,
Yeah.
and then the sun rises and you have this like short window of the sun being out, and where we're at a lot of times it's kind of gray skies
Mhm.
through the winter, and that's pretty difficult. But we have seen research that sunlight is still coming through on those days, so you can still get vitamin D, but not as much as someone near the equator. And back a while ago, I actually did this blood panel just to kind of see like where things are at. And I found out that most of my muscle fibers are type 2 fibers. I'm just a power fast twitch athlete, which is great for some movements in CrossFit and other ones not so great when
Mm.
you need a lot of aerobic capacity. The other thing I saw is that I did have a vitamin D deficiency. And, the likelihood is just that I've been in the Northeast my entire life and we don't have a ton of sunlight exposure. So I think in the winter months, that might be one that I would supplement with. Another one that is kind of hot in the research right now is magnesium. A lot of people are saying that like 40% of the population doesn't get the appropriate amount of magnesium. What I would say is before you start adding those things into it, actually know your levels.
Mm.
Like, don't just believe that I'm low on vitamin D or I'm low on magnesium. Like, actually, like get a blood panel and see where it's at to see if you actually need that supplement, because so many people will just hop on supplement trains and just start taking them, and a lot of times they're not really needed.
Mhm.
So I don't know, anything you would add in or supplements you go to.
Yeah, well, I think I like the question because it also says or practice, and let's just look at it from a different side of view, because when I went to supplements in the winter months, it was more so because I had self-diagnosed seasonal depression.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where I was like doing vitamin D, magnesium, like vitamin C, and even like oh, what's it called? Like black currant seed for inflammation. Like I was taking supplements like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've found is I thought that I needed them to function well, when in reality I really didn't, and it hasn't affected me. I had to kind of wean off some of them, and there was like a phase where my inflammation was like I was a little achy, but then I was fine after that. And um, so I kind of want to look at not the supplement side of what I do during the winter months, but the practice side, because for me, at least the past, 10 years of my life that I can remember to when I was 17. Before that, it's hard because you're just a teenager and like you don't really know, but whatever. But like most winters, I struggled. Most
Mm-hmm.
winters, I had a phase of like my spirit just went down and I was discouraged for a really long time. Call it seasonal depression, call it lack of meaningful activity, whatever. What I've realized is, especially last winter, and you challenged me on it, and encouraged me through it. What it was the first winter that I was like, truly pursuing what I wanted to pursue. And I was really listening. Basically, I was entering into a new stage of my life. And instead of doing all of these different supplements, I was like, okay, let's prioritize these different practices to help me through the winter months. So, one of those things I did, and it's great that this question was brought up, because actually my partner and I were talking about it during the CrossFit competition, so it's kind of cool. But one of the things is having friends that you can go hang out with,
Mm-hmm.
making sure at least once a week, if not more, you're doing something with your community in person, like in physical person, if you're able to, because it's so helpful to get outside of yourself and outside of like dark spaces. So that's one. The second one, which I was talking to a friend about last night, and she literally said it's completely shifted her attitude, is a gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds, some people are like, I don't want to do a gratitude journal. And I'm like, do a gratitude journal. Like, it's so helpful,
Yeah.
especially during the winter months, every single day. You don't have to write 35 things, just write 1, 2, 5 things that you're grateful for. It goes a long way. The third thing I would say is have something to look forward to, because it's nice, like you can have, and maybe that thing you're looking forward to is hanging out with your friends once a week, but there's also this, like, if I can go visit my mom in Florida in February or March every year, I'm I know I'm like, okay, I'm just getting to February. I'm just getting to February. I'm going to do my best, enjoy every day, but like February is that like break of sunshine that I need. And so I don't know if you can take a vacation, every single person, but have something that you can truly look forward to, that you're marking on the calendar, that like, maybe it's the halfway point in the winter months or whatever, but that you can really like enter into and get excited about. Because when you're excited about something, that excitement carries into your spirit throughout the day. So kind of wanted to share more of like the practice side of things in the winter months, in case she was getting at more of like the seasonal depression side versus like the supplement side. But any other thoughts?
Well, you got me excited and hyped up now. I have all these thoughts running through my head, and I'm trying to funnel them down to deliver it in a cohesive manner. But I agree with, and I'm glad you brought it back to the practice and supplements. And I want to add on to supplements that just look at the name supplement, right? It's something to take because your body already has it, but you just want to add a little bit more to it. So if you're relying on supplements, that's the wrong way to go about this. You should be relying on your body and the receptors and the things that it already has before you start relying on the supplement is giving me my health. No, no, no. It's a supplement is meant to supplement your health, not give you that health. So make sure that you're using it as an add-on, not as the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And then daily practice wise, another thing, if you have the ability to, and if you don't, I'll give another tip. But if you have the ability to kind of flip your day, I found that to be super helpful. And this is speaking in kind of the more of the northern states in the U.S. or northern places above the equator during winter months, is that we have brief periods of sunlight, and it tends to be in the middle of the day. So if you can get up a little bit earlier, start your workday sooner, take a longer break in the middle of the day, and then go back to work. It's the way that Italy does their work.
Yeah.
Get up in the morning, work till 12:30, 1:30, break from 1:30 to 4:30, and then hop back into work from 4:30 to 7 or 8:30 or whatever needs to get done. But for me, it's like if the sun's out, even if it's snowing out, I want to be out in that, whether it's a walk, playing snow football. And that's another practice is get out in the snow, have fun, and bundle up. There's snow pants, there's winter coats, there's all these things that you can use to bundle up and be warm. It was one of my favorite memories of, I think it was last winter, but we went out and played snow football because we were both kind of beat up, didn't really want to do a workout.
Yeah.
And we're like, let's go play snow football, tackle each other, and run around the front yard. And we live on a busy intersection.
Yeah.
And I'm just laughing at all these cars going by and like, look at this 30-year-old and 20-year-old playing snow football in their front yard. Yeah, it's fun. And it made us enjoy the winter for that day. So get out there, go sledding, go for a walk, bundle up, enjoy the snow. I know it gets hard because it's cold and you're like, oh, I just want to stay in bed. I want to stay cuddled up. And there's benefits to that as well. But what I found is each time that I've bundled up and I've gotten outside, I've enjoyed it way more than I ever would have thought or imagined. So get out in the sun, as Brandi said, meet up with some friends actually out and about, find some fun winter activities
Mm-hmm.
that you can do. I don't ski, but I'll go to a ski lounge and drink hot cocoa near the
Yeah.
fireplace just to like interact with people. But find that something, and don't shelter, don't isolate. You
Mm-hmm.
know, bears can do that, but humans cannot.
Right. 100%. Our second question is from a listener named Freddie, and he asks, what causes muscle cramps while exercising?
Freddie, thank you for that
Mhm.
question. And I'm kind of laughing because whenever we're like getting ready for something, Brandi says, "Ready, Freddie?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Nope, I'm not Freddie." And then she calls me Freddie Dillon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Freddie, amazing question. I'm going to start by saying that eating a banana to decrease muscle cramps is the biggest placebo that I don't want to say in history, but it's up there. It's got to be
It's pretty
in
high.
the top three. So let me add context to that because that's what a lot of people have done is, oh, I have and this is specific to exercise associated muscle cramps,
Mhm.
not like systemic cramping, right?
Mhm.
Because if someone is having renal failure or other types of conditions, then their body's cramping for other reasons compared to exercise associated muscle cramps. So this is specific to, let's say you're going for a run, you're going up the hill and your calf starts to cramp. That's an exercise associated muscle cramp. So we're going to kind of stay in that lane because the other lane gets very complex and very medical, and we don't want to go down that lane. So for exercise associated muscle cramps, the thought has been, well, you get the cramp because you're not properly hydrated, or you get the cramp because you don't have enough electrolytes. You're low on potassium, sodium, or magnesium. That creates the muscle cramp. So you eat the banana, you drink the pickle juice, you slurp the mustard packet, whatever you've been told, you do that, and the cramp goes away. But the question that we pose, and I don't want to say we, I'm actually going to mention Martin Schwellnus, legit name, not a nickname. Martin Schwellnus from South Africa is a researcher that has dedicated his life to understanding what creates exercise associated muscle cramps. He has this awesome article in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and he states in there, how long does it take your body to digest a banana? It takes a pretty long time.
Mhm.
What would make you think that once you digested that banana, the body would then go, let's pull all that magnesium, sodium, potassium, and then send it to the calf directly to get rid of that muscle cramp. And let's do that within 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Physiologically, it cannot happen. So, what does happen, because I had a cramp, I drank pickle juice, ate a banana, slurped the mustard, and my cramp went away. It was the thought that this thing is going to do that that actually decreased the muscle cramp. Same thing with hydration. Oh, I have a muscle cramp. So you slam some water, maybe add some salt tablets into it, and you slam that down, and within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, your cramp is gone. How long does it take that water and salt to actually go through the digestive system, be absorbed, and then taken out and then sent to the rest of your body? It
Mhm.
takes longer than that 2 to 3 minutes. But what does help with a muscle cramp is stretching. So there's something going on in the nervous system that brings on the muscle cramp. And that's what Martin Schwellnus has shown us, is that muscle cramps occur because athletes are playing at a higher intensity than what they're accustomed to. So it tends to happen in football early in the season, week 1, week 2, week 3. We see a bunch of athletes cramping. In rugby, same thing. Early in the season, we see a bunch of cramps. As the season goes on, the cramps are less and less because
Mhm.
now they're accustomed to that high intensity. Really good teams that practice really hard have the lowest occurrence of cramps because they're accustomed to that intensity. But Martin Schwellnus has done research on this. He's looked at cold environments versus warm environments, because people say, well, you lose more electrolytes in warm environments, which then would lead you to creating a muscle cramp. So he actually followed runners that were doing marathons in very cold weather. I don't remember the exact degree because it was in Celsius, but I know it was like, for us, it was around 32 degrees Fahrenheit or colder.
Mhm.
And he followed them in a race, half marathon and marathons, and found the same occurrence of cramping as people doing it in warmer climates. So we can't blame it on the weather. We can't blame it on losing sweat and losing electrolytes. For systemic cramping, yes, that can be it. But for exercise associated muscle cramps, no. So what it comes down to is that it's not, you need to be hydrated, but not overhydrated. Because what we see now is that athletes are overhydrating and actually making themselves ill
Mhm.
from having too much water. And the reality is, like, no, man, you didn't work hard enough in the preseason.
Mhm.
So you can drink all the water you want. Like, still going to cramp because
Yeah.
he didn't work hard. So it's really a load management thing that it comes down to. And as far as like stretching works to decrease a cramp, because it's working on the GTO, which is a receptor in the muscle and in the tendon that then sends a signal to say, okay, we can lengthen out the muscle. So that's the neurophysiology part behind it. If you want to learn more about that, reach out and I can send you those articles, or you can research GTOs. It's one of the only times that I recommend static stretching. It's for muscle cramps. If you have a cramp, you don't need to chug pickle juice. You don't need to slurp mustard packets. You don't need to chomp down on a banana. You need static stretching, and you need a little bit of a break, and then you can go back in. And then once the game or meet or whatever it is over, you have to look at your training load and say, okay, how do I compete more intensely? I'm talking about the Chiefs, but not Patty Mahomes.
Okay.
I want to talk about Isaiah Pacheco. Love watching him run. Every time he runs as hard as he possibly can. And the coaching staff says, oh, he doesn't just do that on Sundays or Thursdays or Mondays because there's schedule. Because every day in practice, that's how he runs. I've never seen him cramp, right? So it comes down to, are you prepared for the level that you're going to be working at? And, you know, competing in these events, we can see that when you're in a competition, it drives you to work harder than what you've done not competing. And then you take that and you go, wow, in my daily training sessions, I need to push the pedal a little bit more so that I'm better equipped for what's coming in these competitions.
Yeah, and I think when you push the pedal more too, then you recover better after anyways. And so it goes back to, we say it all the time from our friend Christina Previtt, but it goes back to like, no one wants to be more weak going into a situation. So why don't you work harder in the preparation time, you know? And as you were talking, I thought about when you dove into this research initially a couple years ago, because both your quads cramped while hiking? I had to bring it up.
Yeah, so quick sidetrack story. It's pretty hilarious. So my buddy and I were up in the Adirondacks, beautiful national park, 4,000 foot mountains. Some people are like, that's pretty weenie, but to us, that's pretty big mountain.
It's cool.
It's cool, and they're steep. They're a tough climb, but it's a fun climb. And my buddy and I were going up. We were having fun. We were like parkouring off of rocks. I had the pack, right? I have this sports medicine venue coverage background that my brain immediately goes to, what are the emergency supplies that we're going to need just in case something happens? And some of them I have, so I brought them. The other ones I don't have, like a walkie-talkie or a way to call a ranger if something was to happen, like probably one of the more important things. But we didn't have that. We're like, well, we'll be fine. We'll get to the top. We'll come back down. So we're climbing up it, and I have my pack on, and the pack's probably like 40 pounds because I have all this stuff in it. And my buddy has just a small backpack, just day hike, and he's wearing barefoot sandals. So I'm like, I'm joking around with him. And so we're just running and jumping off the rocks. So we get up to the one high peak, and we're doing 3 peaks that day. So we get to the one peak, start coming down, and my left quad starts cramping, and I'm just like, shut up, quad, you're fine. And this is before I had the research of Martin Schwellness's work. And I'm like, I don't know how I can keep going. So I keep going, and then my other quad cramps, and I'm like, I can keep going, and both my quads seized on the trail at the top of the mountain. 4,000 feet, and this was like near the fall. Like, it's really hard to survive that through the night. So we're trying to figure out, like, okay, what are our options here? Like, we need to get to lower elevation. My quads are cramped. They dropped me on the trail, and I'm a push through kind of guy. And both my quads cramped. My buddy turned around and just goes, "Oh no!" And I'm dropped on the trail. I'm trying to rock back into a child's pose to get a stretch on there. He had pickle juice. I chugged it down. Cramps went away. So I associated it with the pickle juice. I'm like, oh, I didn't hydrate enough.
Yeah.
I didn't eat enough food for this hike. In reality, the stretching decreased the cramps. And the cramps came on because I wasn't accustomed to that workload.
Yeah.
Like, I'd been doing box step-ups and stuff in CrossFit, but I wasn't doing parkour on rocks, climbing up this mountain. That's a 6-hour hike.
With 40-pound
With 40-pound pack on my back. But the best part was, well, 2 funny parts. My buddy smashed his toes off so many rocks wearing the barefoot sandals. And then you learn that the copper on the bottom probably doesn't do anything of connecting to the earth to help with his hiking abilities. But that was fun. And we hiked for another 10 hours
Mm.
after that. Some on purpose, other ones we got kind of lost, but we hiked for another 10 hours after that. And then I drove another 4 hours to get us back without having any cramping after that.
Yeah.
So from the time that we actually do have a cramp to what we can perform, at least for me, what I learned is, wow, I have a really big gap in
Mm-hmm.
when my brain turns on the protection alarm compared to what physiologically I truly have left. But I look back and I'm like, yeah, no, that wasn't electrolyte imbalance. It wasn't because I wasn't hydrated. It's because I wasn't accustomed to what we were doing
Mm-hmm.
of running and jumping off of rocks for 6 hours
Mm-hmm.
to then climb this mountain.
I think it's fair to say we all start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And we have moments, and I think, a lot of people go to the pickle juice or whatever when they have muscle cramps, but this new information, like you took it, and now in the future, if you are going to go up to the Adirondacks, one, you probably aren't going to do parkour the whole time, but two, you're going to prep a little bit
Yeah.
leading up to it. So Freddie, we hope that you enjoyed those fun stories.
Yeah. And last point I'll make too is that in mindset and placebo research, things that are more foul tasting tend to have a greater impact.
Mm.
Like, I do not like pickle juice. Like some people love it. I like pickles. I do not like drinking pickle juice. People like mustard on sandwiches or other food, but they don't like slurping a mustard packet, right?
Mm.
So we tend to use these things, and yes, they have electrolytes and stuff in them, but they're very foul tasting. They're very strong, and the stronger taste that it has, the more that our brain starts to switch the messaging.
Mm.
So keep that in mind too. That it's not the actual chemical makeup of this thing; it's the taste that then makes us to do this. And there's a lot of placebo research on if they make a drink that is a medication type drink, but they make it taste worse, that the person actually has a greater outcome because of how bad it tasted. Because
Wow.
we tend to associate healing agents and medicine with things that taste really bad.
So
The
the
worse that
gross
it tastes, the better it can help me.
the gross cherry like syrup
Yeah,
is
yeah, like
so gross.
Robitussin.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's disgusting,
But it works.
but it works. And you're like, the more that you have to like choke it down, the more that our brain believes that like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be the thing. Wellness shots.
Mm.
Wellness shots do not taste good, but people
Oh,
slurp it down and they go, oh, I feel better. I got this
the
boost.
ginger and the turmeric and the orange, and it's like, oh.
Exactly. So keep that in mind. I know it's kind of a paradigm shift, and this isn't just an opinion. This is really well done research from
Hmm.
Martin Schwellnus and his team at their labs in South Africa that's been reproduced and redone and meta-analysis. A lot of research on this. If it
Hmm.
was just an opinion, I would say that, hey, this is my opinion on muscle cramps. No, this is what the scientific
Yeah.
evidence is showing us of what is not happening. We still don't have the full answer of what is happening, but we know what's not happening, and we know that these other things that we've been taught to believe are a placebo.
Hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
So our last question is from a listener named Tristan, and they ask, how can I best support my friend who wants to improve their overall health with better eating and exercise?
Tristan, thank you, and I'm sure your friend is appreciative
Yeah, it's
of
so
you asking
kind.
that question. I want to be friends with Tristan. Like that's
Yeah.
in the book we talk about your Symbicam friend.
Mm.
And if you've ever been to a hockey game or really any venue, I just associate it with hockey because of the crunch and they always do it. But they have the Symbicam. Think of the classic kiss cam. They show it and you kiss. Mwah. The Symbicam is you pick up your child or pet or wife and hold them in the air as if you're holding up Simba. So your Symbicam friend is the person that is holding you up, that person that wants to lift you higher when you don't know that you can go higher. And we all need that Symbicam friend.
Mhm.
And Tristan sounds like he is the Symbicam friend.
Yeah.
He's the person lifting his buddy up and saying, hey, I got you. I
Mhm.
want to support you. I want to help. That's amazing.
Mhm.
We all need Tristans in our life.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. So how do you actually help with overall health, better eating and exercises? Step one, have the conversation.
Mhm.
We can't help if we don't know where that person needs help in. So it sounds simple, but really like have that conversation and make it, I really care about you. And I know that you have these goals of exercising and eating well. What way can I support you? And shout out to one of my buddies who is my Symbicam friend.
Mm.
You know who you are. But he consistently has told me, if there's anything I can do to help you with the business, you let me know.
Mm.
Nothing is too big, nothing is too small. And I go, oh, dude, I really appreciate that, but we're good. I know you have your own business. You have twin girls. Like
Mhm.
you have a lot going on. So like, don't worry. Like we'll be fine. He goes, no, I'm not accepting that. If you need me to write a review, I'll write a review. If you need me to help with emails, I will help with emails. You tell me what I need to do to help you.
Mhm.
And I'm like, dang, like he's really in this.
Mhm.
Like he's really there to support us. And so when you have that conversation, don't accept the, wow, I really appreciate it, but like I think I'm good.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, so let's make you great.
Mhm.
So you're at a good level. How do I get you great? Like, you want to go grocery shopping together? Maybe I can swat your hands when you go for some Doritos. Maybe I can keep you away from the snack aisle. You want me to text you and ask you how your workouts were for that week? Do you want me to help support by sending you podcasts like the Hope Not Note podcast or other
Shameless
ones
plug.
that are out there? But how can we support people? And what we've learned is that the best value is the unexpected value.
Mhm.
And there's so many ways that you can do that. Let me come help in meal prep
Mhm.
with you. Let's meal prep together. Like I need a meal prep for the week. You want a meal prep? Like let's do it together. Hey, I noticed that you're meal prepping, but you don't have Tupperware. I got you this gift of Tupperware to help you out on your goal. Like there's so many awesome ways that you can help out, but you have to ask.
Yeah.
And and you have to ask to get the conversation started, but then you have to lean in
Mhm.
to that person and basically don't let them say, nope,
Mhm.
I'm good. Like, all right, now let's get to that next level.
Yeah, I think the desire to support someone is so pure and so good. But I think sometimes, which makes me so sad, but I'm sure I've been there, but sometimes people are embarrassed by support that they
Yeah.
want or need, and they don't want to ask for help, or when they're offered help they think, oh, I'm going to be a burden, or something of the sense. And the reality is you're such a gift if you're the one reaching out, and if you're the one that wants someone to reach out and you're afraid to ask for help, like open yourself up, like humble yourself in this new season. Because if you're wanting to improve your overall health and take that next step, that's a beautiful thing. But you have to humble yourself to know that you don't have all the answers, and leaning on the support of other people. And I've mentioned this in podcasts before when we've talked about accountability partners, but make sure that your support system or the person you're going to for help is the type that's going to have great habits, and is
Yeah.
the type that's going to hold you accountable, or is the type that's going to show up. Not that your other friends aren't great, I'm sure they are great, but we all know the personality that's like, all right, you're in this, I'm in this with you, let's do it, versus like, oh, we're in this, great job, and they're like kind of like the cheerleader, but they're not going to like actually help you with certain things. And so I just recommend, like, really make sure that your support system is somebody that is like a doer, I guess, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that. People will be impressed by your strengths, but they connect with your weaknesses.
Mhm.
So sometimes you have to show vulnerability in order for that person to open up and say, I do need that help.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of times we have these friends that are doers that, whoa, you lost 30 pounds and put on a six pack and are deadlifting this amount of
Mhm.
weight. Like, that's awesome.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, here's how I did it. I ate this amount of calories per week and I deadlifted this amount. And they're just saying how they did it instead of saying, you know what, like I did accomplish that. But there's a lot of challenges
Mhm.
along the way. There's a lot of times I thought, I can't do this anymore. There's a lot of times I didn't want to show up and I found a way to get myself to show up. So it is a journey and I'm so proud of what I accomplished, but I couldn't have done it without people.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that you're starting to enter into this. And man, I wish I had more support when I was doing it. And now that I have done that, I would love to offer support to you.
Mhm.
And I know like back then I probably wouldn't have wanted it, but now I know how much I would have appreciated it and how much I actually didn't need it. And I don't want you to have to go through that. So just let me know how I can support you and help you in your mission.
Mhm.
That is a much better way than to go, hey, you're into fitness, look at my biceps, you want biceps like me, I can get you biceps like this.
Yeah.
Like, no, show your vulnerabilities
Mm-hmm.
and do it transparently and humbly, and that person will open up too.
Yeah.
And then you can really get down to the foundation of help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shocking how little people need sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you just send me an encouraging message once a week? Like, sometimes that's all people need, is
Yeah.
that little message of like, hey, saw you out there running today. Keep it going, man.
Mm-hmm.
Looking good. Or that like, oh, look like you put on some muscle. Wow.
Mm.
Thank you. All of a sudden, those 2 days waking up in the morning and doing late nights is suddenly worth it because people have noticed these
Yeah.
changes. I mean, not that you're doing it for other people's approval,
But it can be helpful.
but it can be helpful.
Yeah.
So show some vulnerability, be transparent, connect with your weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
And as Brandi was saying, I look at it this way, and I forget who was saying it, but it was in jujitsu, that you want to have the partner that is better than you, that humbles you, but then you want the partner that you can also humble,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not constantly getting humbled over and over again and getting defeated,
Right.
but that you're getting lessons from someone that has exceeded where you're at, but now you get to pass the lessons that you've gotten to that person who hasn't exceeded to where you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful chain that just keeps going and progressing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the beauty of leadership. Like, you need someone to lead you, but if you're being led, you're called to lead others as well. And that's in every area of life, not just health and wellness, not just jujitsu or eating better or whatever, but it's in every area of your life. You need a leader, you need a mentor, and you need someone that you're mentoring, or at least encouraging. And I would add in, you need someone who's your friend too, right? Like, you need to have a leader, you need a mentor of some sort, you need to have someone that you're leading and bringing up, but you need to have like your friend, your encourager, that's right next to you, that's like being that cheerleader for you.
Yep. Time for one more story?
Go for it.
One more quick one? All right. Just talking with Danny Matei, who is a business coach, started cash paid PT back years ago, but he was in the military at first, and he was sharing the story of one of the ranking officers. He used to have a challenge me week, and basically it was anyone in their unit could challenge him at anything that they wanted to do. It didn't matter, but he never told them what his strengths and weaknesses were. So of course some people were like, oh, I'm going to wrestle him. Did not know that he wrestled at West Point. You picked the wrong battle. You should have done your research. Do not challenge the guy that wrestled at West Point. So some of the troops would go up and wrestle him, and he would put him in submission and just give him a whooping. And then other people would go, I'm going to challenge him on a math equation. I'm going to challenge him in philosophy. I'm going to challenge him in science. I'm going to challenge him in this, and this. And he never backed down from a challenge. He lost way more challenges than he had won. But the reason he was doing it was to show that even though he's a ranking officer, he still has weaknesses, and that we all need each other in order for this to be successful.
I love that.
And how cool in the military for that to happen. Like, we think of the sergeant yelling all the time, calling people names, and this one's come and challenge me in a math equation. Oh, I can't do that one, but I'm going to try. And he wholeheartedly tried every time and came up short, and everyone started following him. Everyone was like, wow, this guy, he's a leader.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great story to end with. Well, thank you for that story. And I think, thank you, Jocelyn, Freddie, and Tristan, for these questions. They're so helpful. And I think in the winter months and just in general, like, as you're trying to grow as a person, it's so important to have a support system around you. We've talked about that so many times, but it's something that you should never stop talking about, because having a support system is so essential. And please know that you are our support system in a lot of ways. Like, you are the hope community that drives this podcast. You drive the ability to be able to reach more and more people by asking us these questions, by sharing the podcast, by leaving us a review. Like, all of these ways, like, that helps support us in what we're doing. And so we truly want to just thank you all for the support that we receive from the Hope community.
And those little messages that come in, whether it's on Instagram or whether it's on YouTube or through email or seeing people in the community. Oh, we love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. That goes such a long way. Like when I was talking about sometimes people just need that little message of encouragement, I think I was actually talking about us and how helpful that really is, to know that it's reaching people and it's impacting their lives and making changes. So it's so beautiful, and we're so thankful for the community and the community we have now and the community that's going to continue to grow. Have a great week, and remember, every day is not just a day to be hopeful, it's an opportunity to become hope.